We're now delighted to have Arno van der Kraan, Vice President of Global Channel Sales at Viasat. And it's over to you.
Yeah, that's me. How are you? You good? Nice. Good afternoon, everyone. Get some water going. Funny. My name is Arno van der Kraan. I've been with the Satcom industry for close to 20 years, about 15 years in the actual operator side of things with Inmarsat, now Viasat, and about 9 years in business aviation. And boy, things have changed, and therefore, Alistair, this says it all, doesn't it? I saw that one, I was like, wow, that's exactly what happened. We started off with dial-up speed connectivity payphone, and now we're doing broadband, which is quite amazing. So to say that things have changed is a bit of an understatement. So we wanted to take you through, we at Viasat look at why you should expect more than just fast from in-flight connectivity. Now the first thing I would like to tell anyone about any claims by any company at all, don't just take our word for it, right? So if we say you should expect more than fast, right, it comes from a base, right? And we've been working with Alistair and the CGI team for many years. It's always a pleasure to coming back here, and thanks for inviting us to these events. But what we do, and we've done successfully for a number of years, is send out surveys, to the industry, to you here in the room, to make sure that what we do as a satellite operator is not necessarily based out of isolation that we think that you need from the motto, build it and they will come. No, we want to make sure that we touch base with the industry itself, and to make sure that we still have the finger on the pulse and make sure that we are not just doing things in isolation. And we don't do that for a specific part of the industry. So we talk to operators, we talk to corporates, we talk to research companies, we talk to absolutely everyone to get a broad spectrum of what it is that the industry needs, rather than we think that you need this, therefore we build it. And we do the other way around. And that's good. This year in particular, from last year, but things are changing so fast. 2 years ago, we were still quite confident in that what we thought was coming was going to stay that way for many years. And last year, things are just speeding up dramatically. So when we did the survey last year, we were a bit, let's just say, a bit nervous. Like, well, what is it that the industry is saying, right? Are we still on the right track? Luckily, we were still. And it was actually quite interesting to see what came back, because as of last year and the year before, there's so much noise going on in the industry. It's difficult for people that do that for a living, for satellite operators themselves, let alone for the industry at large. So who do you believe, right? So there used to be a handful of offers out there in the market. That's it, And now there's left and right. People are talking about latency, distance, speed, that, and da. How do you know which, what to follow, right? So the results that came back, reliability was a massive winner across all the respondents to the survey. So reliability, coverage, and quality of experience. Those three items, they win hands down, which was good to know, because that's what we at Viasat are focusing on. We want to make sure that the experience over in Europe is the exact same as it is in over the Strait of Singapore, and it is at 9 a.m. in Teutoburg. So you want to make sure that consistency and reliability is the key thing. And then what was interesting, it's not that you just want to have reliable service, because reliable but slow makes for a shitty experience. Fast but not reliable makes for a shitty experience, right? So all these elements are really important, right? But it was interesting to see that reliability tops the response. And then speed and latency, which they're buzzwords these days. They are not unimportant, but they are not the only one that is making of a good quality of experience. Now, again, if you have one of these items from the previous slide in isolation, that's not a good experience, right? So we focus on the quality of experience, where every single factor in the mix makes up for the overall experience, quality of experience, IQE, there's all these terms for it, basically an SLA. All these items, they work in tandem. So speed, of course, is important, right? Let's not kid ourselves that, that's the Swift broadband days of 432 kilobits per second. That will not scratch an itch these days anymore. It needs to go faster. We know that The applications are going to be more bandwidth hungry. We got the standard TV and a 4K TV. So there's always going to be an increase in demand coming from the aircraft. But all these items together, right? Consistency. You need to have a consistent experience to make for a good onboard experience. Coverage. You need to be there where everybody flies, and speed as well. What's going on with my? Are you doing that for me? Oh, thank you. You don't have to do that. But all these elements combined, availability, reliability, performance, all these factors combined are what you need to have ticked. And that's becomes the actual experience on board is reliable. Because it used to be a nice to have, to just have, again, this dial-up phone. You used to be able to call somebody on the plane, and that was a novelty. That was awesome. And then you were able to, send an email. That helped. But now, of course, people want to go from the office to the airport in the car, and then from the car to the aircraft. They want to have a seamless experience. And that's key. And then we at Viasat believe is that you need to make sure that when you choose your connectivity solutions, you don't just go get lured by one of these elements. You need to make sure that all these elements, they play in tandem. And then ideally, you need to have an SLA attached to it where you know with clarity that the investment you're making in your connectivity solution on your aircraft is going to give you what you need, where you need it, and actually give you the experience you basically deserve, that you also have on the aircraft. Now, the operators today are a lot more savvy and also a lot more demanding than about 10 years ago. I don't know how many people were there when Swift Broadband got launched. Swift Broadband was great when it got launched for the service, and that really propelled connectivity for the biz jets. But that just doesn't, it's not what you need. You need more and more, right? And then with the advent of new applications, right? So you save everything in the cloud. The pandemic was, of course, a great example where video conferencing became a must rather than a nice to have. So we knew that the Swift Broadband would never cut that. And even when we launched JX, that was the beginning, right? We knew that everything has to go in tandem with the requirements of the market. And it's true, right? And there's a lot more tech-savvy owners and operators of the market. So you need to make sure that whatever we offer is in tandem with the market requirements. Now, and one of the key things of having an excellent experience, we as a satellite operator, we take care of the network. We make sure it's consistent, it's global, it's reliable, but you need to have a very strong partnership with third-party providers like Satcom Direct GoGo, like Honeywell, like Collins. I think all of them are in the room here today. Is that we have a very strong ecosystem of partners that work for you. And what that does, and that goes from the satellite operator to the partners, the value-added resellers, but also the OEMs, the Gulfstreams and Bombardiers of the world, is that you have choice as an aircraft owner and operator. You need to make sure that when something goes wrong, and unfortunately things can go wrong at times, so that you can pick up the phone and call somebody that knows your aircraft, that knows your principal, that knows your problem, that can even actually call you before something already you notice an issue in the aircraft. So, hey, we see that you're going to fly into XYZ region. You might want to make sure that, watch potentially an issue. That is the beauty of the partnership ecosystem where we put a lot of time and effort in as Viasat. What it also does, it improves your choice and value, right? So if there's more competition, that means people are going to battle for your business, which is good. Drives down price, drives up innovation. And it makes it a heck of a lot less complex than dealing with just somebody on the end of a phone that doesn't know your business and doesn't know your company. And of course, that premium white glove service, that is key, right? You need to be sure, and you need to have the guarantee that if something breaks down when your principal is in Bora Bora or somewhere in Alaska, that you can call somebody that then flies to the place where you're at and troubleshoots on the spot, right? It doesn't just simply send over a new modem and good luck. No, somebody will fly to you and fix it. And that is the partnership that we have between Viasat, the OEMs, and the value-added resellers. That is absolutely critical to make sure that the onboard experience of the principal and then the people in the back is just top-notch, right? They don't even notice. The goal is for us to them not notice that there is something that is working through satellites because that's far too technical. They just need to be able it works. Now, of course, we make sure that we monitor all the traffic. We have in the network control center, we do that, have that, GoGo, Honeywell, Collins, Satcom Direct, they all have the same monitors and checks in place to make sure that is everything still going as planned. And that's super important because why is that important? Because we can then anticipate issues and we can actually react, before the customer on board notice, we can react. So we do that all the time, but we've actually started looking into the usage of a typical aircraft. This is an actual flight, New York to Hamburg and back. I think it was a Global 7500, so it's a big plane. It can hold a lot of people. And we said, well, what are they actually doing on board, right? And what do they need? Because, we can all talk about, hundreds of megabytes per second that you need to your aircraft, but do you really need that? Now, the only thing that's missing from this chart is that the consumption demand of this particular aircraft never topped 20 megabits per second. The majority of the time is hovering about 5, 10 megabits per second that they demand, or actually not demanding everything at all. They're sitting there, they make a few calls, they go online, go on Facebook, they do some work, they maybe watch a movie, and then the biggest consumers of data is that because of the way these apps are developed are Dropbox and if you do things in the cloud, because it just opens up the network and it just draws a lot of data. But those are actually then demand that goes on into the background. So if you are looking at Zoom, for instance, Teams, they don't really demand that much capacity. But what you want to make sure of is that when you demand it, then it's delivered. And the point we're trying to make here is that, sure, you can have 300-400 megabits per second or whatever they claim it is, but what are you supposed to do with it, right? You want to have a consistent experience for whatever application that you use. And we're not as naive to think that nobody will ever need more than 20 megabits per second. That's not the case, right? So because people on a cruise ship or people on an airline, they may have a different opinion. But for our industry, we're now seeing 20 megabits per second for a heavy user. They go 30, 40, 50, 60, 100, sure, right? But at some point, how much capacity do you need, right? You need to make sure that it's all reliable, it's consistent, it's where you fly, it's available when you need it. And this is where, the interesting part is that because we never knew that the cloud computing and Dropbox were such big, heavy consumers until we looked into it, right? And this is good, right? Because the more we know, the more we can anticipate and work with what we have. Now, all the information that we've gathered through the surveys together with CGI and yourself, and also research and our own analysis, we saw quite early on is that we had to go change with the years, right? So when we started with the JX service of then Inmarsat, now Viasat, we had speeds of up to 16 megabits per second. All right, cool. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing, right? And then we knew that we had to start thinking differently. We had to start working with the demand of the market, and we realized that speed doesn't mean anything anymore. You just need to have the capacity available whenever it's required. Like as in the earlier slide, most of the time there's no demand from the network at all. So we've done some clever thinking, and together with combining the two companies, Inmarsat and Viasat, there were some new fresh ideas, new technology available, and also just some forward thinking. And we started looking at ourselves long and hard, like what do we need to do to make sure that we're staying ahead of the demand and then do something that the market actually tells us that they need. So we've uncapped all speeds for the new Jet XP plans, Jet Experience, that's thanks Rabil. Excellent marketing, thanks for that one. So the Jet XP plans, what they do is that we've unleashed capacity, which for some of the people that have been in the industry for a while is an old Viasat catchphrase, which we've kind of borrowed and kind of adapted. So we're now uncapped all the speeds for the new plan. So that means there's no such thing as a minimum speed or a maximum speed. We'll just give you all the speed that you need when you demand it, wherever you fly. On top of that one, we've expanded our capacity. So we know that it's never going to be enough, right? So when we launched our JX constellation, it was a layer, and there was 4 satellites, and that was the beginning. And we just keep adding satellites and capacity from partners on it. So, and this year we'll have Viasat 3 will come online. We'll have GX789 will come online shortly thereafter. And we just continue to add capacity because we know you can have capacity somewhere over the Pacific, but it's the capacity that you have in Teterboro at 9 a.m., somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America, it's called today, not quite sure. But you need to have capacity where people fly. And we know where people fly, right? So we take a heat map. And of course, what we've done, we've learned a lesson is that not all traffic is equal. If you look at maritime, which is of course still some of the biggest portion of legacy Inmarsat, now Viasat, their traffic demand has a very different priority need than our industry, right? So they can just send telemetry over at night. There's no real urgency. But for business aviation, we found, hang on, this is important, so we've upped the priority. So uncapped the speeds, added capacity, and we've prioritized your demand, so which is now available to everyone. So please talk to one of the service partners that you have your JX service from, and it's good. It's a service that it's cheaper per bit and better in experience. So what's not to love, right? And we got a couple of hundred people now actually using JetXP, and we're going to continue to build on that. I'm not going to go rehearse this, but the key takeouts is that you need to keep telling us to Alistair, CGI, and then also through the partners, what is it that you need, right? Are we doing something right? Please let us know. And if we're doing something wrong, let us know as well, right? But you deserve a stable, reliable connectivity on your plane. It needs to be reliable, consistent where you need it. And of course, JetXP is only the beginning, right? With all the satellites coming online and the combined strength of Viasat and Inmarsat, but the GX satellites of Viasat 3s, we're just getting started. So I'll keep it there. I'll take some questions. I know there's Slido, I think.
Questions in the room. We've got the rugby ball ready for anyone who wants it. We've got a very diplomatic question, as you imagine, from George at Lux Aviation. He says, the cost of SATCOM usage packages have been extortionate for years. Will Starlink reset the bar to sensible levels?
That's an excellent question. And yes, let's start with Swift broadband. That was just heinously expensive, right? There's no sugarcoating that. It was quite expensive. Actually, it was, I wouldn't call it extortionate, right? These things are expensive to put up in space, but it was expensive for what you got, right? But it actually did the trick at the time. But if you then compare Swift broadband to GX and also the Viasat KA services, right? It decreases by an order of magnitude. Sure, Starlink is coming in. It's very easy when you have deep pockets and you just don't necessarily worry about actually having a healthy business. But it also brings competition to us, which is good. We love competition, right? Because it drives innovation. And dare I say it, the acquisition of an American company, of a British organization who was very slow in responding and very conservative, it did help, right? Prices are going down. The JetXP plans are a lot cheaper than the previous plans. So are they going to go, what's the word? Are they going to reset the bar? Well, they certainly shook the industry, but if you look at what Starlink historically has been doing, and there are certain places in the world where they go in low and the price is going up. So is Starlink going to be cheaper in the long run? I don't know. Are they cheaper now? Yeah, sure. But are they reliable? Are they consistent? That's the thing. And then we will continuously look into that. But yeah, it's a good question.
One thing about Starlink is it's also a closed system, isn't it? So once you're on Starlink, you can only have Starlink.
That's it, right? It's a single company that has a 1-800 number, and they will send you a new terminal if it breaks down when you're in Alaska. So good luck trying to install that. That's.
Any more questions in there? I'm desperate to throw the rugby ball to someone. Chris, did you have a question? Chris?
Well, hang on. You had a really difficult question earlier.
Okay, Chris is coming. You're talking to the black bit.
Hi, Arno.
I got to take a photo of this. You're talking into a.
I'll be tossing it back at you.
Yeah, don't do that.
How many options will there be for taking in? You talked about Viasat 3.
Yeah.
You talked about 7, 8, and 9 as well.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
So you've got 2 networks there. How many different options will there be to take on like a single modem for all of the options plus more?
Yeah, that's a very specific question. Thanks.
That's why I didn't really want.
Thanks, Chris. No, that's good. So at the moment we have, with the JetXP plans, they are available for the current terminals in the market, which is the JetWave terminal from Honeywell. And they're already benefiting from the added capacity and the optimization and the clever network tricks that we've done. And you're right, because there are two networks, right? We have Viasat and Inmarsat, and of course they will become one. But basically, they will have to become, we're one Viasat now, right? But the modems, they're still different, right? The waveforms, it gets pretty technical quick. But we're merging those into one, and we're working with manufacturers, and then yourself, Honeywell will have the JetWave X, right? And then Second Direct will do PSKA. At some point, all these terminals will have the availability to talk to all satellites, right? And then fast forward, 5 to 10 years, however fast that goes, then something more clever will happen where all these merge seamlessly. But yeah, so in about the next couple of years, and then depending on when JetWave X gets certified, and of course when the PSK from Second Direct GoGo will be available, then there will be access to all satellites, right? And then, if I'm not mistaken, at the moment Honeywell is in the lead, but then GoGo Second Direct will follow shortly, and then that's good, right? Because then we get the full breadth of all the satellites stacked on each other, and then the full waveforms, and then the speeds will go up, and then the experience will be increasingly better.
Mark or George? Okay.
You can just give us a mic. Okay, final question.
I've never seen somebody talking to a rugby ball before.
Final question. What's going to happen in the next 5 years? Because we've had Starlink, there's Cooper out there, there's the Canadian one, I've forgotten the name.
Telesat. Yeah, OneWeb GoGo, right? Yeah, it's going to be. We had a internal joke that we called it, the terminal wars of 23. They were about to be unleashed, and of course now the network wars, and it's going to be interesting, right? And unfortunately we don't necessarily know what's going to happen, but yeah, indeed with Starlink, they're making a lot of noise. Kuiper coming, or Amazon, that's a proper company with a completely different set of mission, what they want to do. Telesat, of course, which has a lot of potential. And then if we go to get the Chinese, they have a satellite constellation that's already proven to be a gigabit per second, I think. So it's going to be interesting, but it's the speeds itself, as discussed earlier. At some point, who cares if it's 10 megabits or 100 or a gigabit, right? If you only consume X amount of, if what you demand is met by the operator, then it doesn't really matter. And then it's the service that goes around it. The white glove support from the value-added resellers. It's the OEMs, the integration of the terminal into the aircraft, and then what you get with it. So it's the experience that will actually prove to be the winner. And I'm sure it can go cheaper and faster, but is that more reliable? I don't know. Is it more secure, right? Certain operators are potentially less secure from a cyber security point of view than others. So it all depends on what it is that you require for your mission. And we're just going to go make sure that we listen to you and develop products that you need.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That was great. Thank you.
Thank you.